Yeah.
You go first.
So I guess my question for you, talk about Lauren.
Okay. In July of 2008, we had a little girl that was full term, was supposed to be completely healthy after all of our doctor's appointments and amnio and all of that, and she arrived and she was not healthy. She was very, very small, only 4 pounds, 14 ounces. She had a cleft lip, cleft palate that was missed on the ultrasound, so we thought that she was small, and we thought, okay, she has a cleft, we can fix that. Then she proceeded not to breathe for 13 minutes. They saved her and had to take her over to Providence. We were at Alaska Regional, and they had to take her over to Providence, where we stayed for 35 days. After a week in the hospital, they did an MRI. Once they had stabilized her enough to do an MRI, she had to be sedated. And when they did that MRI, they found that she was missing part of her brain, which is the major message center in her brain. Lauren was finally taken off of oxygen, but still was very, very medically fragile. I was there every day with her, caring for her. Finally, the doctors came in and said, look, we have the geneticist coming from the University of Washington. The pegs don't fit in the holes. And we think that we know she has a syndrome. We don't know what it is. We can't diagnose her here. The geneticist came up and said that she had boring opiate syndrome. It's an incredibly rare syndrome. All of the medical issues that she had compile this syndrome: blindness, deafness, missing part of her brain, contractures at her wrists and elbows. It was a really, really difficult situation, and we left the NICU after 35 days, and they basically said, Lauren probably won't survive, take her home and love her. And so that's what we did. We left and were discharged from the NICU with only hospice in place, because they said, she won't live but probably a week at home to maybe a month. And we took Lauren home, and we loved her. It was incredibly difficult for our family to care for her. We were up around the clock. Every hour and a half, Lauren had to be fed. She couldn't tolerate more than an ounce and a half at a time. We bottle fed the first 9 months of her life with a special bottle for cleft lip, cleft palate babies. She'd eat and then end up refluxing and losing her whole feed, and wasn't able to have the strength to eat again. So it was a constant care situation. I didn't sleep much, but she was my kid, and I was going to take care of her. It didn't really matter. She was going to be in our home, and we were going to love her while we had her. It was approximately the 9th, 10th month of her life, we decided that we were going to do an NG tube, which is the nasal gastric tube, to try to get some weight on her and get her stabilized so that we could actually do a G tube. And when we did that, she gained some weight. She gained when we started, she was about 8 pounds, and she got up to 14 pounds, which is the most that Lauren weighed throughout her life. We finally did the G-tube surgery. When she went into the surgery, they said she's probably not going to come out of it, so just be prepared for that. She probably won't tolerate the anesthesia and the surgery. She did come out, but that started a whole different set of problems with feeding. She couldn't tolerate the feeds any better than she could with the bottle or with the NG tube, and she got some really horrible reflux, had some real bad feeding issues, and that was basically the beginning of the real end. After we got the G-tube, we were able to have more people come in and help. And my husband, after her first birthday, we took her back to the specialist that diagnosed her in the NICU. And when we saw them, they were shocked that she was still alive, because we hadn't been back in the hospital. They attributed that to the care that we had given her, which, like I said, we just kept her here and loved her and fed her and bathed her like a normal baby. But after meeting with them and saying, yes, this is still a boring opiates child, yes, she's still, we're shocked that she's still with you, and you need to get some help. And then my husband said, you absolutely have to get some help. We did, and we contacted Hope through much prodding and insisting from my husband. When I called Hope Community Resources, I'd heard of them over the years. I've lived here my whole life. As a child, as a kid growing up, I had walked the Walk for Hope, which was from one side of town to the other, and you got blisters by the end of it. But I didn't know what it was for. It was just a nice day, and it was a nice thing to do for the community. When I contacted them, they showed up the very next day. I told them about Lauren on the phone. They showed up the next day. The supervisor that came for in-home supports came into our home, met Lauren, and basically said, you need to let us help you. And, oh, I'm fine. I dismissed it. I had cared for her for 14 months and kept her here in the house, and did it all by myself. My husband works, and we also have a very healthy 5-year-old, and it was quite the undertaking. And I just, like I said, I tried to dismiss the hope person and tell her that I didn't need the help. I was fine. I could do it. And she said, no, I'm not going to leave until you let us come in and help. And she was very persistent, which is what I needed. I needed to be bossed around. And she did. And someone showed up, I believe it was the next day or the day after, and started training for in-home support. So Hope showed up. They said they were going to help, and they did what they said, which, you know, I mean, to me, that's pretty impressive. No one could fix Lauren. No one could medically fix Lauren. We couldn't do anything but try to keep her comfortable. And but Hope came in and allowed in-home support, which was 5 hours a day, and the simple things that you take for granted when you have children, especially healthy children, going to the grocery store, running up the street to rent a movie, taking your other children on a play date. You know, I wasn't able to do that with Lauren because she wasn't healthy enough to go out. She couldn't tolerate even riding in the car. The vibration of the car bothered her, and she would fuss. So, with that said, they came in, they did what they said they were going to, and I think it was probably a week before, it was the last week of February of 2010, I decided, well, Hope's helped me, and we're going to make a team for Walk for Hope. We're going to do the For the Love of Lauren team. And unfortunately, 7 days later, Lauren passed away. It was expected but unexpected, and it was difficult, but Lauren never knew a day on earth without love. And if, I guess the best way to put it together is she suffered while she was here, and she's in a much better place. Her life was very, very difficult for her, and to not be able to do simple things like eat. And Lauren never rolled over, she never sat up, she never reciprocated, she never interacted with any of us due to her medical issues. So we continued on with our team For the Love of Lauren. Last year we had over 100 people show up wearing these shirts, the For the Love of Lauren shirts, and we raised $12,117. It was crazy. They dedicated the walk to Lauren, which I was very touched. They, being Hope, dedicated the walk to her last year. And after she passed away, I decided that was something that I needed to do every year. This year, I decided I was going to have to kick it up a notch, and I actually got with the Hope people, and they were amazingly supportive. I decided that I was going to do a Bouncing Bears fundraiser. Bouncing Bears allowed us to have their location for 2 hours, and we went in and raised over $1,000 in 2 hours. They donated all of that to Hope. We did a silent auction the beginning part of April, and raised $18,500, I believe, around that. And our team currently, if you look at hopealaska.org, you'll find Lauren's team For the Love of Lauren, and currently we are over $25,000 for the 2011 Walk for Hope, the 42nd annual Walk for Hope. So I wanted to pay it forward. We don't need Hope services anymore. I don't need their assistance. Lauren is no longer with us, but I know what Hope did for us. I know that I asked for help, and they immediately helped us, and didn't wait for the waivers, the state waivers. They didn't wait for all the paperwork that goes into having a child with disabilities. There's a lot that goes into that as far as the paperwork and getting approved and being able to have funding to get a nonprofit to come into your home. And I didn't have to wait for that. But that's where the Walk for Hope money goes. It's an emergency fund that people throughout the state, if they need assistance with in-home support, if they need any type of medical, Hope will help them with that. So it's important, and the money stays right here in Alaska, and that's, being a lifelong Alaskan, that's really important to me, that I'm doing something. My daughter's legacy is helping other Alaskans, and I don't want to be doing this, but I need to. I need to heal, and I think this helps me heal, helping others in her name and in her memory. So,
like, talking about Lauren, the time that she was here for almost 2 years. I just, by reading the Facebook and looking at the videos and reading your notes and the story, I could tell she was loved by everybody. Mm-hmm. So she was only here a short amount of time, but you know, the love that she had, and I mean, it seemed like she loved you guys and you loved her as well.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. I mean, people came out of the woodwork. It's very, very, it's very isolating to have a child that is anything but perfect in others' eyes and in society. People don't know how to deal with it. It's very hush-hush. A quote I actually heard was, you know, when your husband or your wife passes away, you're a widow or a widower. When your parents pass away, you're an orphan. But when a child passes away, there's no term for that. There's no name for that, because it's that horrible. It's that awful of a thing. But the support that we got from people, complete strangers that are now friends. You know, Lauren has over 1,000 friends on her Facebook page. And every single one of them sends me a kind note. They, you know, wish that they would have met her. They love that we are able to, as a family, give back in her memory, and they obviously have helped. I mean, Alaskans have donated that $25,000 to Hope. It hasn't been me. I mean, I've just been the person out there getting the word out. I haven't been the one that's donated the money. So that's pretty impressive that people would come together and do that.
Like I said, you're very inspiring what you're doing. A lot of people, I don't want to say most people, I don't know what people would do, but I know some people would just like, you know, my daughter has passed and I'm just going to move on with my life. But you and your family, Garrett, your husband Todd, and you have taken this onto another level. I was talking to the executive director of Hope, and he said it's these random acts of kindness. If more people did what you did, what you guys are doing, this world would be a better place. I agree with what he said exactly. I mean, I know you're not doing it just to be recognized or anything like that, but it's like it's your way, like you said, of
it's therapy. I mean, it's complete therapy. To have people read Lauren's story or listen to me talk about Lauren's story. I mean, I've been invited. You know, they sent me to Juneau to speak to our legislators. I've been invited to other nonprofits that are quote unquote competition of Hope, although they all play very nicely together. But you know, I mean, those people want me to come in and speak to their employees and tell them how important it is that they're there and what they do. And it's, I mean, what more precious do you have than your child? And here, something that I've learned is and I experienced it because I was very difficult to accept help. I didn't want to accept the help. I could do it myself. I was super mom. And that's hard, but you have to let people help you. If you've got something going on like that, and you're in a situation that you need help, I learned the hard way. You know, I did it for 14 months. I learned the hard way that's you've got to let others help you, and I wasn't good at that, but I strongly recommend it, and like I said, people just came out of the woodwork. People have been so supportive and so amazing to us, and so kind, and a lot of people, complete strangers, showed up and brought us dinners, you know, down to the croutons, and never introduced themselves, never asked for anything, just said, have a nice dinner, you know, just because we needed the support at that time, and that's what they did. So. And it's Alaskans. I mean, Alaskans are amazingly wonderful people, and we had over 250 people donate to our silent auction and dig in their pockets and want to give us more after they heard Lauren's story. So it's the community we live in, and I think it's very reassuring to know that there are people out there. You know, you hear a lot of bad, and it's nice to hear that there's people that will support you and people in our community that really do care. I wish I could have learned this life lesson in a book. I mean, I don't want to be living this. I don't want to have lost my child, but I did. So I'm just trying to turn it into something good and give back to others that need the help like we did.
That's all. I don't have any
Okay.
else to ask you. I'm very inspired by you.
You're very sweet. Yeah. Hey, Gary.